for me, this is really a pivotal moment, but I think we've all been saying that for about 10 years. This is a pivotal moment. This is a pivotal moment. To me, this year feels a little bit different. So it's really an honor to give this presentation and to have the opportunity to really dive into this topic a little bit more, even just for myself. We are definitely in a moment of great unraveling and composting, but it also is bringing with it an opportunity for great potential. So this presentation is about moving through that collapse with some clarity and with a direction that brings us towards meaningful and hopeful action. So most of us are very well acquainted with a breakdown, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Instead, I'm going to start at the beginning of the breakthrough. And I really need to say, we are not broken. Even though that may sound simple, in a time of collapse, that's really radical. The system is breaking down, but we are not. And we are meant to be collaborating. This is how we're built. Connection is why we're here. We're hardwired to connect with others, and that's what gives us purpose and meaning in our lives. I love Brene Brown and all her work. We're really not meant to do this by ourselves. Coming together is something we do naturally. We tend to see it, where there's crises. Times of crises, mutual aid, community response, collective care comes out naturally. It's human nature. That's why we're really hardwired for this. It's really our evolutionary inheritance. So the challenge now is to carry that natural impulse to connect into our design for the future, to build systems that support our natural strengths instead of suppressing them. In the bioregional movement, we see this firsthand. When the stakes are local and real, people show up, they help, they share. Collaboration is how we're built. The invitation now is to create systems to support that strength, to help it scale, synchronize, and thrive beyond the emergency, not just in response to collapse, but as a natural way of being in life. This is the heart of the presentation, to remind us that we already know how to do all of this, to show us that technology can support what is already innately human, and to illuminate the path forward together. Because amid the domination, separation, and exploitation, we are building an infrastructure for unity, interconnection, and innovation. This new system is already rising socially, ecologically, politically. For decades, people have been working quietly under the radar. Most people I meet doing this work were either so overwhelmed by or kicked out of the old system, they're now eagerly building the new. We are weaving new possibilities in new ways. Regenerative economics, collaborative governance, decentralized technology, new ways of knowing. And in a way I can't explain, this year, these threads are interconnecting naturally now. Shared infrastructure is forming, tools are converging, networks of mutual support are strengthening. What once was hidden is beginning to bear fruit. It's really time to coordinate. This moment has come to invite the right people at the right time to do what they were uniquely meant to do in service of all life. For that, we need shared tools for collaboration, tools that help each person individually answer, what can I do? And I have an idea of how to build this that I'm going to share with you. Before I dive in any further, just a little bit of background on me and why I'm doing this. I have spent the last 20 years working to understand, develop, and apply some foundational work of what is now becoming the new system. My leading question has always been, how can existing tech better support thriving life? And my areas of research have included flow state and agency, resonance and group coherence, humane tech and mapping, natural cycles and interconnection. And now I am compelled to act. I am driven to build and have been doing so pretty consistently now for the last 5 years. a system where these elements come together within technology to enable meaningful coordinated action at scale. Oh my gosh, we are so close. I feel like I've been saying that about once a month. We are so close. All that's required really is a tool to help us find the solutions that work for us, not give us a solution, but help us find a solution. So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm concerned about the health of marine life, and there's an organization that arranges monthly beach cleanups near where I live. Chances are I don't even know that organization exists. I need a system that makes it easy to find that information, and then I would likely get involved and be a part of creating that transformation. I think many of us have expressed similar aspirations when we come together and say, oh, what do we wish for the future? We wish that we could have this kind of tool or that kind of tool. So that's where I was when just a few months ago, this idea for an integrated system came to me. Born of the concern about the current US political crisis, I felt compelled to work on it. So here's where we're headed together today. I'm going to show you what came to me. I'm going to walk you through a proposed new system. And at the same time, I'll attempt to answer the question, what can I do? Here's a high-level overview of what we're going to be covering. It's a system I call the resonance engine. It incorporates 7 layers, traversing past to present and me to we. It's a guide I call the compass that navigates 7 steps through the resonance engine to discover more meaningful actions based on personal values and situational context. And supporting it all is exploration into how AI contributes to sense making along the way, increasing our capacity for effectiveness of coordinated action at scale. The system is designed to enhance our ability to bring out our best selves to the world when and where it is needed most. It's so critical during these crucial times of transition that we bring our best selves to the picture. Whether we're navigating a political environment or a personal transformation or bioregional movement, this system has something to offer people. It's a living system for coordinated action. And more specifically, I'm going to invite you to look under the hood. This is my diagram of the resonance engine, a living system for coordinated action. I'm going to walk you through. You don't need to read this right now. I know it's a lot and it's very small. I'm going to walk it through step by step. And at the same time, we're going to be answering the question, what can I do? So we're going to be holding those 2 things at the same time. I thought at one point of doing this sequentially in the presentation and realized that it's just too much. So we're going to put it together and we're going to use the political use case as we walk through it. Our task now is not to dream the future, it's to build structures worthy of the beings we are becoming. And then we're just going to pause. So this was the question I asked at the beginning. I'm just giving people another minute because that was already a lot. And so I just want to pause and give people a chance to reflect either on this question or let questions bubble up. I'm open to receive questions if somebody has a question. Bo, thank you. Okay, good. That's good. Sometimes I feel like these system solutions can be so multi-layered that sometimes it's hard to communicate it in a way. So that's really good feedback for me. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll continue then. Yes. Okay. Okay, so our guide for the next set of slides is going to be the navigator in the compass. So in a time of change and overwhelm, to me, the compass is a core. Oh, did somebody ask a question or is somebody just off mute? No, everybody's good. Okay. The compass to me is a project that's been with me for a very long time. And it's a tool for clarity, courage, and direction. We absolutely need tools right now that help us make sense of where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go next. So the compass works with the resonance engine. So this was an opportunity. This project brought these 2 things together in my mind for the first time. And so the compass works with it. It includes a personal knowledge management layer where it holds our individual histories and gifts. It includes a personal insight layer, which tells us the larger story that our own larger story that we're currently working within. And then it's a navigator that helps us navigate the external environment, opportunities, and actions we might want to take. In this way, the compass becomes a tool for inviting agency, alignment, and flow. So it guides us into meaningful action. And that's where it really intersects with the resonance engine. So we're going to use 7 steps of the compass where I found that the compass and the resonance engine intersected. And we're going to use those steps to help us walk through the resonance engine system. Step 1, patterns of the past. The resonance engine always begins by referencing patterns from history. Doing this helps us understand the story we're currently in. So drawing from the global knowledge commons, we aim to understand the larger patterns that shape us. How did we get here? What are the recurring dynamics across history around both systems breakdown and opportunity breakthrough? AI is a perfect fit here. It was designed to find patterns, so the complexity of our current problems requires tools that can help us find the signals inside all that noise. So going back to my example of navigating the political system, in February, I asked ChatGPT to help me uncover the patterns throughout history for countries that had struggled with the breakdown of government and the trend toward and away from authoritarianism. So I turned this history lesson with ChatGPT into a database of facts. Again, you don't need to go close. I can share this with you after the presentation, so don't feel like you have to read it. I will share with you I know it's small. I'll share with you the pertinent information as I go through, but then I'm happy to share this database with anybody who wants it. So I turned the lessons and everything I was learning into a database of facts. I discovered the patterns across all times in history and from all countries worldwide where the similar events had led to fascist regimes, overlapping patterns from North Korea, Soviet Union, Hungary, China, Turkey, and so on. Then I asked for a list of examples of just key events from those countries that contributed to autocracy. And then the same story from countries that safeguarded democratic ideals. So now I had a baseline from which to better understand what was happening in the US. So I asked the same questions, but this time specifically targeting the US. And ChatGPT highlighted historical periods where the US had struggled with autocratic trends in the past, including Jim Crow, laws that persisted into the early 20th century, and McCarthyism in the 1950s. And I had AI give me the efforts to advance democratic ideals, like Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring in 1962, that led to environmental protection laws like the Clean Water Act, or the establishment of PBS in 1970, or Winona LaDuke's work in the 90s to protect Indigenous land rights against corporate and governmental encroachment. This laid a solid foundation of knowledge. I had enough history to find patterns now from which to better understand the present. So on to step 2. Step 2 is relevance. The system now will put in recent events, both local and global, that are relevant to the line of inquiry, zooming in to see where you or your context sits within those larger patterns. This is where insights begin to meet relevance. Your location and situational conditions in the present moment provide a filter to focus the system on the context that matters to you now. For our political example, that meant taking a closer look at US recent events. I asked the same questions again about the US, but this time focused on the days since January 20th, 2025. when, of course, a major shift occurred in political landscape. Capturing information through March only because I maxed out my free space, the trend was already obvious. Comparing sets of events, there was now 2.5 times more activity toward fascism than democracy, and that was as of mid-March. Step 3. The resonance engine then further narrows the context by incorporating your unique personal lens, your place, identity, emotions, roles, goals, lived experience. This is where the compass really becomes personal and more meaningful. This would create a dynamic match customized to you based on where you are, what you care about, how it aligns with past events. However, the compass has not yet been fully developed. So, for my example, I had to kind of skip this and just do it more manually. And so we'll move on to step 4. There's nothing in the database, basically. We'll move on to step 4. By comparing past and present, trends emerge, and the resonance engine can then forecast where things might go if we stay the course or if we shift based on historical pattern. This moment is a choice point for the individual. This is where personal and collective agency begin to rise. If we choose to take action, will we resist or augment the current trend? How might I intervene, align, or act? It also shifts our leading question. Instead of just what can I do, the question shifts to what do I want to do? Maybe I want the breakdown. Maybe I believe that it's what's needed and I want to help compost things. Maybe I'm working at the edge of breakthrough with an experiment and governance. Or maybe I just want to make a small change for my own family and buy vegetables from the local farm instead of the supermarket. It's my choice where I go next. For my personal example, I looked at the trend and realized that the US was choosing to follow the autocratic playbook from world history. I knew this because it was the patterns that I just put into my database. I had a step-by-step structure based on past events that I realized would help me anticipate what was to come. Having this playbook actually helped me feel less blindsided and less overwhelmed by daily news. Then I had the idea I could do the same for safeguarding democracy. So I created a playbook to resist the trend. Examples of actions based on historical fact that can amplify democratic ideals. In this way, the compass is a unique guide. It doesn't dictate, it listens, it centers, it empowers, it mirrors the self to unearth opportunities for the individual so they can choose to take action. Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody and what values you represent. The result is the action is more meaningful to the individual because it's both aligned with their personal interests and aspirations, and it also allows for coordination with other people already doing the work. And coming together with others to create change in meaningful ways builds connection, which, back to the Brene Brown quote, builds more meaning. And then that keeps going around in a spiral. And we're going to just pause again here. When have you felt in flow, doing something where you lose all sense of time, something you could keep doing forever? Welcoming any responses to this question or questions in general.
Yeah, I would encourage responses. I'll offer one in a moment, but I'm going to let others jump in first.
Excellent. Thank you.
But one comment there. I felt really in flow when I've just let go of me and totally open to the experience of composting.
Mm.
And worked with the chat the AI uh, persona from the GTDF, gesturing towards the decolonialized future um, that they created. And there are times that I could have gone on forever. And fortunately, my OpenAI account allowed me enough that I could go on for a while and all. Though they limited it to the point of creating an entire ontology that's based on composting and relational stewardship and things like that.
Mm.
So yeah, so I've had that experience of being in the flow when it's just heart to, it's like heart to assistant, we just
Mhm.
kept doing it and kept doing it, and each weaving some portion of it. So
Yeah, it sounds like, Robert, you're in flow when you do real deep thinking work.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
but that requires more. I had to let go of a lot. I just asked, what are the things in this that really, the boxes that we had created in the way we did the work in the past, that needed composting to enable the flow to occur between the human and the AI as a trusted partner.
Mhm.
And
A
that,
lot of people, when they talk about flow state, talk about losing a sense of themselves.
yeah.
Yeah, so that resonates for me. I feel the same way too. Roger.
You're on mute, Roger.
Oh, you're muted, yeah.
Yeah, I would offer that for me, being in nature and just meandering around with no agenda, or with my two dogs that I go out with. Um, that's it for me at the moment in my life.
Mm. Yeah, there's something about the interconnection with nature that I think brings a sense of peace and calm and oneness, of all with all life. Do you feel that too, Roger? Is that part of it, or is it just not that
Yeah,
deep?
and I think that part of that is that you do kind of lose yourself in that when you
Yeah.
feel more connected with nature. Like I don't know. There's an immediate experience, and not so much processing, mental processing.
Mhm, mhm. I think there's something to the walking too, don't you?
Yeah, the rhythm of walking, I think, is part of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, Bo.
You're on mute, Bo.
Oh, I'm not muted.
We
Oh,
can hear you now.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, can.
Oh, okay. Um, so what came to mind for me was something pretty simple, and that is when I'm in a very authentic, deep conversation with someone,
Mm,
um, I I find that one loses sense of time,
mhm,
and it seems like there's always something more to say, always something more to hear from the other person, uh, something to share about oneself. So
mm.
that was one example. And another example, I guess, would be dancing.
Oh, yes.
Uh, just dancing to music, um, losing, losing, a sense of just becoming one with the music.
Yeah, I feel that way. Dancing's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Yes, and just that free form kind of dancing too, not aerobic exercise
No,
or yeah, yeah, yeah.
but music is involved, for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you both. That and deep conversations with people you care about. It's the other thing I heard.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I love the quote you shared from Parker Palmer about instead of telling your life what you intend to do, why don't you listen first, right? And I translate that into my inner guidance.
Mhm.
And for me, that's I some time ago realized that time only exists when I'm not acting in accordance with my inner guidance.
Oh, so conversely, you lose a sense of time when you are
Yeah,
following your inner guidance.
exactly. And lose a sense of self, as several have shared
Mhm.
also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well,
I'd echo being out in nature is a place where it's conducive uh, to entering that state.
mhm.
The other thing for me for a number of years now has been my work on the mimetic activation platform,
Mhm.
because it feels like a calling that is coming through me. It's not me trying to manifest some idea I've got. It's like this idea is working through me. It's like non-optional. I have to act in accordance with it. And when I do that, I don't have a sense of time, and I don't have which some might say is a disadvantage because I've been at it for 7 years now. But I am feel like the progress is important, but I don't, notice the time passing, and it definitely feels like I could do it forever. I just hope it doesn't take that long.
Yeah. Yeah, right. We wish it would go faster, but I think this is it's very common at the edge of creating something new or innovation to be at that learning edge. And that's really where flow studies have really been interesting to me too, is these learning loops that people go through in the tight ones. So the more feedback we get that we're on the right track, the more we're in flow. Um, and so that's a little bit of what I hear in what you're saying to you, Steve, is
Yeah,
you get a lot of feedback that gives you joy. Oh my God, I just figured out this one other piece. Like it sounds like you're having moments like that.
yeah,
And then it drops in and it keeps you coming back.
yeah. That's quite accurate.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too about the work. And I think we got into that in our meeting this week too, the three of us
Mhm,
together, you, me, and Vincent. Right.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
then so that's pretty magical if it can happen with other people.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to move on unless there's any, I'm just give another second in case anybody else wants to share, but no pressure at all. We're gonna pick up with step 5 and keep going. So step 5 starts to bring in a little bit of hope about seeing what's possible. The engine then reveals people already resisting harm and creating possibility. Logically, regionally, I'm sorry, locally, not logically, locally, regionally, globally. This is how we activate hope, by seeing that change is real, that it's already happening, and that's already being done by people just like us. For my political project, I returned to ChatGPT to help me pull together some resources and organizations as suggestions. For organizations, they're familiar ones like Common Cause and League of Women Voters and Sierra Club and Civil Liberties Union. But there are also new ones to me, like the Data Rescue Project, which was a coordinated effort to serve as a clearinghouse for data rescue related efforts and data access points for public US governmental data that's currently at risk.
Mm.
There was Swing Left, a grassroots network dedicated to winning critical elections through coordinated volunteer efforts. And there was the Brennan Center for Justice, a nonpartisan law and policy institute that seeks to improve systems of democracy and justice. And I use ChatGPT to curate more local organizations as well, like Alaska Common Ground or the Mississippi Center for Justice or Maine Citizens for Clean Elections, or Arizona Advocacy Network. So with all these organizations in the database, I figured, oh, wait, now we need to transform this into some sort of action. And that brings me to step 6, engagement. This step surfaces relevant resources that are a match to you specifically. Solutions, trainings, toolkits, organizations doing the work. The compass cross-references these with your goals, values, and needs so you can choose how you want to contribute. This isn't information people will get through the news or from a quick Google search. This type of result requires the patterns, the trends, and personal inquiry. So we can't get to this without having the whole engine be functional. And our leading question can now shift slightly again. We've covered that there's something we can do and there's something I want to do. Now we come to the sweet spot of realizing there's something I uniquely want to do. This is the point in the resonance system where the options being presented are subtle yet powerful. It's an offering of meaning and purpose. Since every organization is already fully curated, I can choose what matters most to me from the options presented, like legal, justice, or arts and culture, local or national. I can look up things that expand voter access or give media literacy education or help with campaign finance laws or free press. And since AI learns as it goes, my preferences and choices help to refine the results and keep things evolving for me, providing me with even more alignment, purpose, and meaning over time. Step 7. The system recommends personalized actions that resonate with me, while also connecting me to broader movements. This is where the me becomes the we. I'm acting in context with purpose alongside others who share my vision. Coordination without centralization. So now I get to choose what I want to do with others who care about the same things. Sorry. And you'll see in the green there, I didn't blow it up, but basically that green field has all the different options for action, like volunteer or advocate for policy changes or be a part of voter registration drives or attend an event or donate, or they're just all the different things that that organization supports. And your favorite quote, Steve: things work better when they work together on purpose.
Mhm.
And now we're back to the entire engine. And even though we each carry a spark, the engine's designed to really bring us all together. And the engine listens and learns, moves with us so we can rise to what's next with clarity, trust, and shared purpose for meaningful action. And it does this through both a compass and the engine and AI. Another pause. Do the situations where you felt hope and those where you were in flow have any connection to each other? And I'm open to thoughts.
I could run at that one.
Mhm.
And thank you for this. This has been an amazing process that you've walked us through, Wendy.
Mhm.
I'm feeling many touch points with other uh, other work we're involved in that at some point I'll work
Yes,
in. But
very much. Yeah.
one of them has to do with the Truth Quest, which is
Mhm.
one of their advisors and colleagues on the Planet Project is Louis Herman, and he has this deep study into truth questing, rooted in his South African indigenous roots and scholarship he's done in his life. But when I am resistant to reality, when I'm not wanting to accept the truth of what is, I'm not in flow. And I feel anxious and powerless about what's going on. So I have to move through that. A tool I've learned to use in this regard is it's called the 4 A's, which is awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, and then action. And that acceptance piece is key because I have to that requires that I recognize the limits of my own power and where my power really does lie. If I don't go through that step, if I'm just aware and acknowledging something's going on that I don't like, then I want to rush and fix it. But if I don't go through that acceptance phase, I don't understand where that effective action can be. And I think what you've walked us through is this beautiful exercise of how you can discover where effective action is possible that relates to my own personal connection to that action. So I think that is a way of linking what you were describing, which is the flow state, into the sense of hope. It's because now I'm in flow with reality. I'm not resisting the reality of what is. And I'm seeing avenues for action that give me hope and avenues that feel accessible and available to me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's part of the reason. Thank you for that, Steve. All of that, both in sharing potential connection with someone else doing important work, but also what it feels like when you're not in flow and how that relates to your emotional state as well. And then the process that you use to get back into flow. I think it's interesting. There's so much work done in the area of flow and intrinsic motivation and all those things. And it has surprised me over the years that besides gaming, technology really hasn't picked up on it at all, except to sell us stuff, maybe. But that's not really flow state. That's not flow state. That's actually capitalizing on the anxiety. And so I just find that interesting. It's certainly like a lot of the other technology we're trying to develop together, flipping things on its head, putting flow first in the way we work together and inviting people to engage around areas that they find meaningful will naturally keep people involved. So will interconnection and relationships. So on both sides, something that's meaningful to me and then people I like working with is pretty assured that we're going to keep coming back and we're going to keep doing it. And so I just find that, to me, this is an avenue. It's just an idea and a proposal, but it's one avenue where we could start experimenting with the reality of that, because it's definitely there. It's definitely innate for us to have those impulses, to want to be in flow, to want to be connected, to want to collaborate. So thanks for that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's a challenge question. Suppose I have an issue that I feel really strongly about and I want very much to help the outcome. And so I go through all these different steps and I find out what would be best for me, but maybe it's going to have very little impact to the whole thing. So how can I change that so that I can have more impact? Because that's really what I want.
Yeah. So what I hear you asking, it's a great question, right? There are some things where we have impact and it's just a tiny little thing and it's okay because we're doing it for ourselves. And then there are other situations where we want to have a much bigger impact on the world. And you're asking how would this system propose to help with the larger impact version? Is that right?
Yes, but then how do I match that with my own skills and my own desires if I go through all this and find out that I really want to have a big impact on this, but the going through all this flow doesn't give me the answer that I want?
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely hitting the nail on the head in terms of the holy grail of what I would hope that this system could do, which is provide you with an opportunity to answer some basic questions about yourself in terms of what your goal is and what you need and what you want. And in your case, you're saying that one of the goals you would have is to have a greater impact, maybe have and greater would mean something different to different people too. So you could mean greater could be, I want to impact things nationally, or greater could mean the number of people it touches, or greater could mean the magnitude of something. So you would get to define that, and hopefully over time the system would get sophisticated enough to be nuanced and return to you things that are important. Now that also means that there needs to be people putting things into the knowledge commons where those criteria are being met, right? So if everything is local and you're looking for something national, well, then that makes it hard, or vice versa. If everything was national and you're looking for something around the corner from your house and nobody's posted anything around the corner from your house, well, then guess what? It doesn't matter how many questions you answer, you're not going to get a match. So I think there's definitely a long way to go with this, but from the work that I'm doing, all the pieces are here. I'm not saying anything that's not doable today. We just haven't put them together in this way to ask these specific questions for these particular outputs. And I'm not saying the pieces are developed enough that we could do that in a month. No, we could not do that. What I'm describing here in a month's time. It would take a while, but what you're saying, Mom, is absolutely where I would hope this would go. And there,
Well, not to worry. I'll keep challenging you.
Yes,
Not
please.
to worry, I'll keep challenging you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I know you will.
I also find now that I am a grandmother, and I'm in my 80s, so I don't have a lot of time to mess around. And I find that some of the things I really feel very strongly on, if I want to have an impact on it, I've got to get going.
Yeah, so immediacy is a
And
requirement.
I think some of that is more, I look at the kids in their 20s, just finished college, and they have all kinds of ideas, but there's a wisdom that comes with age and what we are able to do and what we want to do, and taking a look at what we've already accomplished and how we can build on that.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think both are needed, honestly, because sometimes people who've, say, I've noticed, and in the collaborative spaces where I work, people who've been in the corporate world for a really long time also have been trained to be very to feel like work should feel and look a certain way. And collaboration doesn't really look or feel that way. Oh, let's share all our data. Oh my God, no, we don't do that. It would be, the corporate world would be like, what are you doing? But to share ideas openly is pretty much a cornerstone of the collaborative movement. Not to say that people are ignoring protections or IPs, but in general, there's just a lot more sharing. And so sometimes people who have been in those environments for a really long time have a much harder time changing the culture. But at the same time, to your point, they come with a lot of wisdom about how things can work and how things are broken, which sometimes is just as informative as what is possible. And yet working with some people who are younger, on the younger side, it's also really refreshing to have them go, wait, what? You do it that way? Why?
Yeah, right.
So I think both are good. Steve?
I just want to say, first off, I love the challenge question, Penny. And I would amplify what you were saying, Wendy. I would frame it as, on the one hand, there's sort of this proof by lack of imagination, we used to call it, right? I'm not imagining the possibilities of what I could do. And therefore it feels like the right fit is not there. And I think, Wendy, you were speaking to that when you were saying, if the knowledge commons is stewarded in a much richer way, right? So there's a lot more options there, then you're more likely to find
Yes.
the fit, right?
Yep.
When there's not much been stewarded in there, there's fewer choices, right?
Right.
I think that speaks to the upside potential. I would also add, for me, that acceptance step includes sometimes discovering the things that I might really wish I could do something about. You know what? There's really not a lot I can do.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so that acceptance step often is where the emotions, it's grief. That's a lot of times where I experience grief through
Mhm.
the recognition of, much as I would want to be able to influence this situation, I don't think it's within my purview.
Yeah.
And so maybe there is some other problem that is more amenable to my skills, right? Or my experiences, or my calling. And so to be willing to go through that emotional process of, sometimes it's just, I just have to let it go.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can let it go to somebody else who can also do it. Maybe somebody who's younger, like your grandchildren who are just starting
Totally.
out.
Yep. Yep. Barbara Mark Seibert used to talk about it as self-calibration. It's
Yeah.
one thing to recognize what needs to be done, but it's another thing to recognize, what is my specific role in doing this?
Doing
Versus
it.
True.
what is somebody else's role, right? And that's where, as you were saying, Wendy, is the why this is so important to be collective action, right? Because it's like, there may be somebody else in the collective who is much better positioned
Right.
to affect real change, right? And so,
Right. In which case, maybe your role is to pass it along.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, that's a really good segue. I have a few more slides.
Okay, go for it.
And one of the use cases I think that would be great for this engine is personal transformation. Right. So imagine someone's going through a major life shift and feeling uncertain about their purpose or overwhelmed by complexity. The compass through the engine could help them orient to their own personal patterns and stories from their own past, and then orient them to a preferred outcome or give them options. For me, it's kind of, without diving into this particular use case too much, the kind of questions that might be really useful to start off, to kick off the engine, would be just something simple like, where's the best place for me to live? Right? If you're cross-referencing, like, all the patterns of who I am and what's available in a place that I'm not familiar with, right, help me find an intersection that could be really valuable. Or how can I be a better collaborator? Referencing back to that culture shift that often happens when people come from from a more familiar corporate environment or entrepreneurial environment into a collaboration environment. Or how do I stop procrastinating? Something simple, I think, happens to a lot of people, and they're wondering. It could just be, presenting them with tools that already exist on the web, but that they're not familiar with. That could really help them in the moment. Or what is the best role for me on this team, and could combine, say, personality assessments with other people on the team and help to find synergies and ways that we can communicate better, and ways that our skills and talents and expertise overlap. Right now, a lot of this happens. It just happens. It takes longer. It happens over time. And it gets discovered in over many conversations. I think something like this engine could really give those things a jump start and help us ask better questions faster. Another use case, bioregional movement. So much of it is fragmented. It's starting to come together, but so much of the information is siloed, and the people who are really spearheading efforts are really overwhelmed by the amount of work, and the fact that really it's an entire systemic solution that needs to be discovered, curated, created, and implemented, which is a lot. So if we were to help the bioregional movement along, we could maybe put through the engine questions like, what resources are available in my area for small business owners? Or how can we prepare for climate events? Or who can help me shift my farm to regenerative agriculture? Or who else is working to improve the economic situation of my community? These would all be questions that would invite people to either just find simple resources that are available that they could absorb in their own time and space asynchronously, or to become part of communities that are concerned with or working on the very things that they're concerned with and wanting to work on. So my last few slides, I can stop there. Does anybody, in just terms of applying it to other use cases, does anybody have thoughts about those before I move on with just some closing slides? And then we can discuss things a little bit more if you want. Yeah, Robert.
Yeah, I just had one question. I see a lot of these questions. It seems like the questions you've been posing, Wendy, are less of a dialogue with. So I was wondering whether you can facilitate having how either team dialogue fits into this, or AI assistant dialogue fits into this, that could get you deeper to answers that you're weaving together, versus posing it's less of a database search, and just tell me this, versus more of a dialogue.
Yes, thank you. Great question. So I heard, how could say the resonance engine, or how do I see technology in general helping to make this more of a interpersonal human interaction, or more natural conversation with the technology, rather than a database search, which feels very old school and not where we're headed. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the thumbs up. So I know I'm on the right track. Yeah. So to me, and thank you for the opportunity to clarify this about my idea for the resonance engine too, because all the steps that I walked you through, hopefully people would not have to do ever, right? They would enter a question in, and the options would pop out the other side, having gone through all those steps. If I think it's always important, and I believe strongly that AI is a tool there to support. So it should be something that, even if it offers me suggestions, that's not the end. I can dive into what were the criteria under which it made the decisions that resulted in these options. I should be able to see how the logic got to those suggestions, so that if I want to modify the logic, or if I think it's completely off base, or if I feel like there's something else, like, oh, wow, I didn't think of that before. Now I have this question, right? All of those sort of interactions can happen. So I see it as an interface that's really a question and answer kind of interface. But I also, and I didn't touch on this today, but a big part of the resonance engine is visualizations. Our ability to explore through multiple visualizations. It could be a map, it could be a chart, it could be a graph sort of database, or a spider graph, or right, all the different visualizations that I know Steve's putting into Dawn, and that I've been working on with Vincent and Catalyst, have been those interfaces that hopefully people would explore. And so it doesn't even have to be a question. It could be a question in the back of their mind, but it's also not like searching a raw database either, right? It's something that's more dynamic and more personable. And the idea would be to connect you with other people, right? So if I'm asking who can help me shift my farm to regenerative agriculture, I'm really looking for a mentor, or not just a how-to guide that I'm going to download, right? I really need somebody to help me answer some complicated questions, probably. Does that
Yeah, and
help?
it does. And even to facilitate a conversation, uh, uh, go beyond that, this group, this group, this group.
Yes.
Connect me. Let's set up a meeting, bam and bam, kind of thing.
Yeah. So
There's a lot that could be done there, I think.
so much. I completely agree. And the people with expertise in facilitation, I think, become a real powerhouse in this kind of environment. People that have been passed, well, only if there's a dissent, or only if there's problems, or only if there's conflict. has been really where those people have been needed in the past. I think they become essential because they end up helping to navigate, right? They become the human counterpart to a system like this that helps navigate. Yeah. And so I could see a system presenting, hey, would you like a person to help walk you through this? Or do you just want to explore on your own? I could see both. I'm the kind of person I'd want to explore on my own. Somebody else would be like, don't do that to me. I want to talk to a person. And I think both is important. Other thoughts? Okay. Thank you for that. That was great. So what you can do, just if there's any takeaway from this presentation, from my perspective, is that everybody matters. Every little thing we do matters. Not in a pressure sort of way, but just in a empowerment sort of way. Even when we think we're not having a large effect, if we're feeling that calling to get involved, it's important. It's important to do something. This project itself needs, engineers and curators. And I mean, there's a huge path if this project were to move forward. I am currently working on pieces of this with partners. And I want to acknowledge that this idea wouldn't have even come to me if it weren't for the work I've done with Steve and the work I do with Vincent and with the Pivot as well, in the bioregions. But and it's, for my part, the pieces will continue to evolve. And for me, this project of sort of seeing how the layers all fit together is helping inform a roadmap in my head for a vision of how these things can start to stitch together in ways that might be more meaningful for moving us all towards a future that we want to get to. So that's my part. Feel free to share this presentation, this video with other people. I did a Creative Commons at the bottom. And then if you are interested in getting access to any of the information, then feel free to reach out to me. My email is there, and thank you very much. Thanks, Jody and crew. I saw you come online.
We just wanted to say thank you. This has been a very interesting and informative presentation. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for being
Thank you, Wendy. I'm really looking forward to the recording. I want to be able to share it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will be posting the recording to this in the Planet community, so it will be available after the event.
Great. Well, you two know each other, Steve and Wendy? I missed some parts of it, so.
Yeah. Steve and I work together. Yeah.
Oh, great, because we know Steve from the design school for Regenerating Earth.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. I've been to a few of those
It's
meetings.
wonderful to see you here.
Hi,
Yes,
Victor.
I know. It's really, I love this idea, and I should probably talk with you, because I used to have an avocation about careers and choosing careers and that kind of thing. So I may know some people who would also love to be involved with this, because they've spent their lives thinking about careering.
Oh, nice.
And we have done a lot of work on right livelihoods,
Yeah.
hosted conversations for people looking for ways in which they can survive and thrive here as well. Doing things that are good for the planet.
Yeah. Why is that so hard? Hard.
Yes,
That's a whole nother presentation.
I admire you for putting this together, knowing that you don't have the skills to do it and that you're asking for help. And I think that's awesome, really. And that you want input, not like your idea is the way it should be. It's just like, let's put it together.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that. Thank you for mirroring that back. Yeah. That is what I've been doing for 5 years. Everything I'm working on is nothing that I can do. And I think it's do myself. And I think it's been really a lovely journey to be in that sort of collaborative world. So I'm very much trying to model what I'm hoping we'll all move towards. I'm not saying I have it right or all the time, but it has been, and it's sometimes it's really challenging because I want it done. Can I just do it? And I can't. Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity for other people to contribute.
Mm-hmm. Well, then it's also calming for me. Sorry, Jonathan, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just realized it's also really calming. I don't have to do everything because that would be the other option, right? Oh, let's start a business and I'll hire the people and I'll make it happen. That was a path I was considering. And when I started to meet other people in this space and realized it would, I could collaborate, that I had a choice, I decided to collaborate instead of compete. And we definitely need more people, and it allows me to be in my own lane, instead of having to do everything, which is much more joyful for me too.
Yes, I believe in the cooperative model, and that is what I would like next.
Yes, me
Being
too.
cooperative, doing what I do best, but knowing that everybody else is taking care of things the way they should be because they want to. Yeah. Collectives,
We'll undoubtedly sign up on the website and let's see what the next steps are.
Thank you.
Well, just a question. Do you know people in the outplacement world?
No, I don't.
Okay. These are people who take people who are being fired, being laid off.
Yeah.
And help them ease that transition by giving them all kinds of counseling and administrative support so they can find a new job, look for a new career, that kind of support. And, their former employer is paying for that. But not everybody gets that.
Yeah, I just wrote that down. Victoria, that's another great use case for this, isn't it?
Oh, they would love this kind of thing. It would be really, really fun to play with that. Counselors find that very interesting and useful. In the process, they would learn so much about the client.
Yeah.
And yes, right. It might even save them money, which is the reason that they might do it.
And be willing to pay for it.
Right. That's right. I mean, it might. Well, it also might expand the opportunity for people who aren't high enough in the organization, for the organization to have that as a benefit, that you get 1 or 3 or 6 months or 12 months of support from an outplacement firm, which is hugely valuable if you take advantage of it. And most people don't need it for that kind of length of time anyway. If it allows the lower levels to get a quality service like this, just through software and self-guidance, I mean, that would be awesome to be able to give every
That would be a game changer.
the organization involuntarily, the use of this, so on a SAS, service as a
Software as a service, SaaS.
service, yeah,
Yeah.
all kinds of ways, but it will be immensely useful for that very clear niche of people who lost their job and need to find them.
Yeah.
Need to find another career.
Right. Oh, thank you for that, Robert.
Yeah, one other area that we had explored before is when people are like on the spectrum in some way and have a neurodivergent kind of issues to resolve. It's the personal transformation can be a very supportive area. If how do I deal with overwhelm? How do I deal with other situations like that? And even um, uh, parents who have just found out that their child has a situation that of that nature, or is specially abled in some way. How do I go about finding the resources? How have other parents done that, resolve that?
Oh my
So
God.
all of those kinds of areas that are very applicable to this kind of solution, seems like
Yeah.
use cases. So
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's actually very near and dear to my heart. I was certified in positive psychology in 2013 after a year-long course, and it was a big piece of that. So whether it's neurodivergence or it's just in general, the mental health crisis, and it's an epidemic, and it's not really something people are talking about. And our professors talked about it back then, and I think it's only gotten worse. Something like this, the personal transformation part, I was really trying to focus more in on the examples I was giving today. But to me, I'm with you. It goes so much bigger than that. Something like this. And for me, that's kind of where the compass was born, and why I think it was born in my mind is there's so much more we could be doing to help support people. And there aren't enough social workers in the world to support people. So it's a huge gaping hole that needs filling. I don't think a system is actually ideal for people who are in mental health, really have mental health issues or crisis, right? It's more of a coach on the coaching side, right? So that's an important note to make. Systems should never replace people in that way. But as a guide, hey, learn it this way. Hey, do you ever think about that? Try this game that's going to help you figure this out. Or, maybe ask this the next time you get together with that person, and maybe you should do these skills. And here's a roadmap to how to get from where you're at to where you want to be, more step by step, in a way that really helps support the person where they're at. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
I'm very impressed. Very impressed. Wendy is way above my pay grade.
We know how to get in touch with you.
Yes, I can put in the chat my email.
Website now.
Yeah.
And I'm also in the community too. So here's my email. Just Wendy at everyone'swisdom.com. So that's an easy way to get in touch. Yeah.
You're in the design school, you saying?
In the planet community,
Planet community.
which is where this event was hosted.
Got you. Not everybody's from there. Yeah. Design school. I'm a member in the design school too. Yeah. Or just email me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless if there's a preferred way you want to connect with me too, I'm happy to do that. Thanks, Victoria. Yeah.
I might take a moment, Wendy, to weave together some of the different threads that are here. I heard some questions about how do we know each other, and Robert had some opening questions, and Victoria, Jonathan, where does the design school fit? So this is kind of a synthesis session for me. So if you're open to that, I would take a couple minutes to do that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're weaving together the Planet Project, which is hosting this event. And the Planet Project was founded by Roger and by Roger. So all three founders are on the call here. And it's rooted in an understanding that the crises, or some refer to the meta crisis, the plethora of interconnected crises of existential risks, share common cause in some deeply rooted assumptions on which that Roger, in the book he wrote, Emerging World, traced back 5,000 years. The current set of assumptions our civilization is operating under go back that far. And that was the fourth stage in the evolution of humanity. And that stage is drawing to a close because of its own systemic flaws. The breakdowns are intrinsic to the systemic assumptions. And Wendy's presentation highlighted the three principal ones: separation, domination, and exploitation, right? We're separate from each other, from nature, from the divine. You know, domination, I need to dominate others to get the resources I need in a scarce world. And if I can't dominate, then I need to make myself subservient to the dominators that can protect me. Or exploitation, resources, whether they be human or natural, they're for us to exploit to further our personal goals, right? So those three core memes, core assumptions, characterize material culture, and we're moving. The good news is that there is emerging spontaneously around the world a response that's rooted in a recognition of our fundamental interconnected nature of reality, partnership instead of domination, and caring or sacred reverence for life as opposed to exploitation. So what the Planet Project is about is saying this is happening. It's not, we're not causing it. This is a evolutionary response to the breakdowns of the current systems. But how can we help navigate this cultural transition? You know, how can we help accelerate, if you will? And so we have databases of change agents who are the allies. It follows very closely with the resonance engine and compass approach, in the sense of a bottoms up approach to change that's rooted in individual. And if we're going to do this based on partnership, that demands a lot greater self-awareness and sort of emotional intelligence, right? To be able, if we can't rely on somebody else to tell us what to do, if we have to figure it out through our own sense making and our own capacity to connect, then it's rooted in those kinds of approaches. So, and finding help in the sense of what else is going on in the world is our database of aligned change agents, and finding examples, stories that illustrate this is actually happening in the world on a much broader scale than conventional media would have us believe, is our positive culture database. And as the Planet Project has evolved, Roger in particular has been spearheading work with many other evolutionary leaders on getting the message out. So I let him amplify if he chooses, but really this notion of conscious media, that though there is a growing cadre of people who recognize we're in collapse and that this change is happening, the vast majority of people in the world are largely unaware. So how can we get this message of what the possibilities are out to a much broader audience? And Roger's forged some amazing partnerships in that realm. For my role, I've been activated for the last 7 or 8 years because of my background in technology to help manifest a platform that supports this bottom-up self-organizing emergence that's rooted in personal agency, but then amplified by collective agency at all scales. How do we, we're facing global challenges. How can we amplify agency through cooperation, through purpose, aligned with these core mimetic assumptions of unity and partnership and reverence? How can we mobilize that action and connect these silos? And through that work on the map, actually prior work, I had discovered, I worked closely with Penny on another project probably 10 years ago now. I got to know Penny Heipel, and through Penny met Joe, and I've been super impressed with the design pathway for regenerating Earth and just the mix of theory and practice that those two dominoes are weaving together in fostering collaboration. And people like Victoria and Jonathan and many others in that rich community are doing amazing work that's inspiring to me. And so I see that as a potential avenue for this platform I'm working on. And it's in the course of developing the platform that I came to know Vincent Arena, and Catalyst, the tool that's already out there and can be used today. The platform I'm working on is not available for use. So Vincent and I have been collaborating on how to move Catalyst to the map as platform and sort of unify the strengths of both in what we're calling Catalyst 3.0. And it was also through the combination of the discovery of Catalyst. And as it happens, one of the developers of the map is a close collaborator of Wendy. So Zeke turned me on to Wendy, kept saying, you got to meet, you got to connect. And eventually we did. And through that discovered omni mapping and this method of figuring out what is the map you're trying to build and what is the technology stack you might need and so forth in a technology independent way. So these are all weaving together, and tonight's the first meeting I can remember where I've had somebody from all of those different communities together. So I just wanted to recognize that as a milestone event and just sort of honor that the fruits of that collaboration. And it's rooted in that very spirit that you were highlighting, Wendy. We're not trying to build some organization to run the thing. You know, we're trying to discover what can emerge through collaboration, through cooperation, through co-creation. So that's my weaving.
That's really great and very helpful.
Yeah. How far are you along your way? What's your trajectory?
Yeah, that's of course.
That's $1 million question.
Yeah, I've never heard that question before. Let me ponder it. That is the question.
Whatever point in time, like listen, milestones might look like.
It really feels like 2025 is the year that something will be available on the map. And what that looks like, and it's going to be very limited and just sort of early alpha, only really friendly adopters will put up with the annoyances it will still have, but I'm feeling encouraged that we will manifest something this year.
Great.
It's great. So our job is to pass this idea on and see who is interested in contributing. Is that?
Yes. And that can take many forms. I think, Wendy's slide talked about the contributors, the different roles that could be needed.
Yeah.
And it's really across the spectrum. So I just say, if you follow the resonance engine and the compass process, right, and you discover your own path to action, then that's what you should be doing. And if that action intersects with any of the efforts we've talked about here today, then let's do it together. That's
Yeah. And soon, where Catalyst really comes in and why I started working with Vincent about 4 years ago now is that, he's someone who's built a platform that's really information agnostic. It brings together information from all different sources into one space. And so when I was talking about, hey, let's get all these resources and present them to people as options, that's already possible inside of Catalyst. And Catalyst is still in its development, working on its user interface and other things like that. But it's usable. It's there. I did talk to Vincent about creating a space for this presentation, and we just didn't get it done in time. But so it's to me, that's also a soon to be pathway where if there's enough interest, well, and this is part of the collaborative environment, right? As I'm sure some of you are aware and working in this space, there is so much to work on. If I were to get from this presentation a bunch of interest, that would help me focus on this over other things. Right. So if people said, oh my gosh, I really want that space, or I really want those resources, or we would work to put resources of all types, money and effort and time into this over maybe something else. And so otherwise we'll continue on our merry way and this will happen. It's just which piece lands first and for which context, for which use case becomes the question. So Victoria, you raising the possibilities for, outplacement and things like that. If that's something that a lot of people have an interest in, that could absolutely be a focal point. With the right partners and the right context, with the right incentives, yeah, absolutely. We
Well,
feel such a need, but that would need to come together. Yeah.
there's probably a couple of people that are very senior, have been very senior, and then apart for a while, but he'd be able to give you wisdom as to where you might go with that
Yeah.
idea for specifically for the outplacement industry.
Yeah.
So we'll just make sure that we can email each other or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's Wendy at everyone'sbusiness.wisdom. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
don't hear from me. Jonathan will put my my email so that feel free to call me.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah. And what I think I hear Steve talking to, and I would definitely say is a couple more years, and then it won't need to be a special project for the development. The development will be far enough along that people can use it for a lot of different use cases of their own design, right? We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And the roadmap to that depends on resources. The more resources, the faster it goes. And I don't just mean money. And just to make that clear, right? It's also the right people in the right place.
With the right leadership and all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Jonathan put my number and email there.
Thank you.
I'm better reactive than proactive. So you can reach out.
Sure.
Well, I want to thank you, Wendy. We have about 3 minutes left. Roger, were you going to jump in?
Yeah, I did want to say a couple quick things. First, thanks, Wendy. Very impressive the work you're involved with. Kind of back to the theme on what gives me hope. I'm involved in a lot of conversations every week with people all over the world on the theme of conscious media and how we can support this shift, the great transition. And there's many organizations attempting to do that in silos. They all have their channels and messaging, and it's all very good, but it's not reaching. It's not getting out there. So there's a huge wave of interest in collaboration. Everyone's talking about that, right? Everyone wants to do that, but kind of hard to get out of your silos sometimes and look at the greater good rather than just promoting your work, which is something we've done a good job of in the Planet Project. We do a lot of promoting other people's work, but there's what gives me hope is there's very exciting things going on. There's just an amazing undercurrent of really talented people. Some are technologists like you guys, which I am not. Others are brilliant media creators. Others are just really eloquent. And there is some kind of a weaving together that is happening, but is very clear to me is what is sorely needed is a technology piece that this all kind of sits in. So, and I know that's what you guys do basically. So that's what really interests me is these really sophisticated networks that allow communication and sharing and distribution of resources and knowledge. And so I will be getting in touch with you, Wendy, for further conversation. I hope I've, of course, picked Steve's brain quite a bit about this, and but thank you so much. This was really a great presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would love to talk to you anytime.
Yeah,
you'll hear from me.
And Bo, you to come in. Before you jump in, I did want to mention earlier, I left an important part of the weave out, which is all the work you're doing with young people, whether it be high school students or University of Maine or now University of Arkansas. Bo was doing a lot of outreach to try and, pull or attract really young people into the fold, into the work that we're doing.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing that occurred to me, really pivoting off of what Victoria said, there is and maybe you've heard of this, Wendy, but I'm thinking of an organization that has come across my perspective over the years. I've been in corporate, I've been in nonprofit, etc. It's called SHRM. It's Society for Human Resource Management. And SHRM has, it's a bit huge organization, but it has a technology piece, as I'm aware, and it would be worthwhile I'm just giving that as an idea for a big organization that could really use and several potential possibilities, as Victoria talked about in terms of outplacement, but there's a lot, internally within organizations where this could be really helpful, internal coaching, etc. So just wanted to pass that on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think there's both a need. It's interesting with the technology. I think sometimes the cutoff is, do people want to share information outside of their network? So oftentimes organizations aren't interested in the tech that we're building, and the tech we're building has features in it that they would never want or pay for, because what we're trying to do is imbue privacy permissions and access permissions that allow people to share things outside of their silos in a way that makes them feel comfortable and secure and safe. Whereas if I'm a company and I'm a hierarchy, I own the data. I'm not concerned with that, right? As long as it stays within my network, I'm happy. And so it's an interesting, the use cases, if they don't align, they're not really interested. So I haven't really found any sort of real interest from a corporate side. The areas I think there might be a little bit of interest in any sort of corporate environment where they usually own the data, is ones that have a lot of vendors, right? Or a lot of freelancers, and then you're basically, that breaks the silo, right? Like you have people who are outside the network a bit, but I think that's to come. I'm more interested personally in helping the people that don't have the tech in any other way and that really need it. So not sure, but whether you were meaning to talk about how CERM would need something that we're developing, or whether they might have something we might want to look at as a comparison point. Wasn't sure which one you were speaking to. Not sure.
Yeah, I could see both, and I understand exactly what you're talking about in terms of corporations.
Yeah.
I do think, though, within that huge connective piece, there are lots of nonprofits. There are others that I think this would be wonderful, and so there might be some potential.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that opportunity to clarify with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody put their hand up.
I did.
Robert? Okay, good.
If we have time, I just wanted to share that maybe in the element that Victoria was talking about outplacement, if you think about all of the people who have lost their jobs in government by the actions that have been taken, now how do you, at the same time, the administration is trying to transfer responsibilities that were centralized to decentralize them in terms of placing responsibility on the states and local areas. You can take resilience, for example. That has become now a national initiative to be done locally and at state level and all. Well, I used to work with the EPA folks a lot and all, and the people who now have lost their jobs and all, who were the drivers of brilliance, in how do you make things work? So how can how can this help them repurpose and help others take on the things that they did well,
Yeah.
and then actually give them a job in that whole process. Get them hired to support some of the other areas. But so that is totally, I think, resonating with the mission you're trying to talk about, Wendy. With people who would love to have it versus the organization, the entity that decided to slash and burn.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Give it to the people rather than to the organization is what I hear you saying, for all sorts of reasons. And I don't think, right, it's one good use case just to think about the people who've lost their jobs in the federal government. Hi, Roger.
Thank you.
Thank you. But another thing completely, when you start talking about people that maybe can't make a living for all sorts of reasons, needing to shift gears. And I think that goes back to what you were saying, Victoria, from, just outplacement.
Or people losing it now because of AI, for example,
right. Or climate events that totally change, right? Or economic and inequalities that are getting exacerbated that change things. Or now I can't get fertilizer for my farm, so I can't farm it the way I used to, and now I need to change things over. I mean, I think there's going to be more and more of it. Yeah.
And on that note,
yes, we haven't solved everything yet. This has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It's been an honor to get to know all of you, and an honor to explore this idea together. Thank you so much.